All right, Shalom. I want to start by giving all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachak Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who teach and rule well, and also to their elders and the men that taught them. I pray the Lord have peace, blessings, and mercy upon the households of the hopeful elect. This is the brother Shema One from the Great Millstone Houston Church. And today I want to come with a lesson, just touching on the overall fact of the Israelites, or I should say, based off of where we're physically from, based off of where you're physically from, doesn't determine whether or not you are Israelite. According to prophecy, it tells you that we're going to be scattered amongst all nations. So you can't go based off of a physical, geographic location and say whether or not somebody is an Israelite. And I say that because a clip I'm going to play from the ISUPK, they, have a little dispute with a man who said he was from Ethiopia, and they just straight off top just said you're not an Israelite. You can't go, you can't go based off of that, according to prophecy. All right. So with that being said, I want to get into it, and I pray this lesson be edifying to the Lord's elect. So let's start here with a precept before I play the lesson, or before I play the little clip. This is Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 63. And it shall come to pass that as the Lord Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh shall rejoiced over you to do you good and to multiply you, so the Lord will rejoice over you to destroy you and to bring you to naught, and ye shall be plucked from off the land whither thou goest to possess it. So the Lord was going to remove the Israelites from the land of Israel. All right. Verse 64. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people from the one end of the earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. So, and we literally experience that still to this day. That's why you have Israelites worshiping so many different things, scattered amongst all these other nations who they've been, amongst for so long, coming up in their ways, coming up worshiping their gods, taking part of their customs. All right. But the beauty of it is, let's jump down to verse 68. Deuteronomy 28 and 68. So with that being said, the Lord did it, and it's still happening till this day. All right. Verse 68, it says, and the Lord Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shah shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. So also, this was going to take place. It says, by the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. So, all right, concerning the Israelites, with that being said, the Lord was going to bring the Israelites into Egypt, meaning bondage. And according to prophecy through the mysteries of the scriptures, this is talking about America. Okay, the Israelites came to the Americas by way of ships. All right, so it just shows you everything that the Lord said was going to happen. It happened, and how it said we're going to be sold into the hands of our enemies. All right, that happened, and it said, and no man shall buy you. And that's the beauty of it. Over here in the household of faith, we're looking for Yahweh Shah to come back to buy us. If you look up that word buy, it's Qanah in the Hebrew, H7069, and it goes back to redeem, to recover, to purchase, all right, to possess. That's who we look for, to get us out of this captivity, to save us from the hand of our enemies. But not getting off topic, I want to just focus on the fact of the Israelites would be scattered, everywhere. And the Lord has it where Yahweh was gonna redeem, you know, the Israelites from our enemies, and that's including wherever the Israelites will be scattered. All right, so let me just play the clip real fast. All right, here we go.
Right. We are related to everybody in this book. That's right. Where are you from? Ethiopia. You are not related to the children of Israel. Right. You are from the seed of Ham. Right. Not all dark-skinned people are the same. Nobody over here is claiming Africa.
You're whiter than everybody else.
I'm just bright skinned. See, and it's just like an African to want to divide us. Right. It's just like an African to want to say, hey, you're lighter than them. Right. Because you know who else does that? White people. Right. White people divide us according to complexion. That's right. We ain't pro complexion over here. We're pro black, Latino, and Native Indian.
Aren't you dividing by saying that because I'm African, I'm somewhat different?
Yes, and you know why? Because, hold up, because there's a holy people. You know what that is? These people on this side. These people, God divided from every other people. Your argument ain't with me, it's with God, partner. I got you. So let me show you what God said about Ethiopia, though.
Hey,
read it. This is the book of Zephaniah, in the 2 and verse 12. Ye Ethiopian, ye what? Ye Ethiopian, ye what? Ye Ethiopian. And also, ye shall be slain by my sword. He shall be what? Slain by my sword. I understand why you don't like the Bible. If I was you, I wouldn't like the Bible either. It's not written for you. Right. God said the Ethiopians are going to be slain by his sword too. Right. Because you're an enemy of God's people. That's right. Next.
So, according to what you just saw, based off of where you're from, that makes you that nation or that nationality or that people of that descent, which is not accurate. All right, because the Lord is going to gather Israelites scattered amongst Ethiopia, scattered amongst the Ethiopians. A matter of fact, in the Houston church, the brother Rock Rakah, I remember a testimony he told me whenever he was still, learning, listening to other camps. And he came across somebody who said, if you're from Nigeria, you're not an Israelite. Just showing you these other camps don't have it. All right, because with them saying that, how the Lord had that brother's spirit move, that brother told me that whenever he heard him say that, in his mind, he was, just like, man, I hope the Israelites make it. He was looking forward to the Israelites making after they even said that. So matter of fact, let me go here real quick. Romans chapter 8 and verse 16. This is what the scriptures say. Romans 8 and 16, the spirit itself bears witness. The spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of the Most High. All right, not based off of where you're from makes you an Israelite. Shit, we've been scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. All right, so just to go based off of where you're from, determining if you're an Israelite or not, that's not it. That's not spiritual. That's not that's not how the scriptures say. Romans 8 and 16. The spirit itself bears witness with our spirit that we are the children of the Most High. And if children, then heirs, heirs of God and joint heirs with Hamashiach. If so be that we suffer with him, that we may be also glorified together. All right. Matter of fact, let's go back on the topic of how he said, you're from Ethiopia. You're not an Israelite. This is what the scriptures say. Isaiah chapter 11 and verse 11. It says, and it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people. When was the first time? in Egypt. All right, so the second time, this is how it's going to be, which shall be left from Assyria and from Egypt and from Pathros and from Cush and from Elam and from Shinar and from Hamath and from the islands of the sea. So this deliverance is going to come, by way of the Lord having an election or a remnant of the Israelites of the nation of Israel that he's going to recover who are scattered amongst these nations. All right. And when you look up Cush, H3568, Kawash in the Hebrew, as you see, it goes back to Ethiopia. So the Israelites are going to be amongst the Ethiopians. The Israelites are going to be scattered amongst other nations. But the Lord said he's going to gather the Israelites from amongst those nations. All right. So let me read it through Isaiah 11:11. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time. The Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnants of his people, which shall be left from Assyria and from Egypt and from Pathros and from Cush and from Elam and from Shinar and from Hamath and from the islands of the sea. Verse 12, and he shall set up an enzyme for the nations and shall assemble the outcast of Israel and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. So showing you scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, literally. All right. And the Israelites, are gonna come. They're gonna come to the belief of Yahweh Shai, or whether regardless of where you are. All right. Let's get another precept. Where is that at? Jeremiah 30. Jeremiah 30:11. Oh, hold up. Before that, sticking on Ethiopia or the Ethiopian, it made me think about the eunuch in the book of Acts, the 8th chapter, right? This is Acts chapter 8 in verse hold up. Acts chapter 8 and verse we'll jump in at verse 27, speaking on the behalf of Philip. All right. Acts 8 and 27, and he arose and went, and behold, a man of Ethiopia, an eunuch of great authority under Candace, queen of the Ethiopians, who had the charge of all her treasure, and had come to Jerusalem for to worship. Now, why would an actual Ethiopian or a Cushite come to worship in Jerusalem? As if, um, how it is now, all nations can worship the Lord, no matter who you are. No, salvation was for the Jews, like Yahweh Shai said. So why would an Ethiopian, an actual heathen, you come to Jerusalem and worship? All right. The only sense it will make, real quick, then we'll come back. What am I looking for? Deuteronomy chapter 16 and verse 16. All right, showing you though this man was from Ethiopia, he was an Israelite. Based off of where you're from doesn't make you who you are. Deuteronomy 16 and 16. 3 times in a year shall all thy males appear before Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shah thy God in the place which he shall choose, in the feast of unleavened bread, and in the feast of weeks, and in the feast of tabernacles, and they shall not appear before Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shah empty. So this was a decree, from all the Israelites, all right, to come uh uh to come 3 times out the year, right? So let's go back to Acts, the 8th chapter. Acts chapter 8 and verse 27 again, it says, and he arose and went, and behold, a man of Ethiopia, an eunuch of great authority, under Candace, queen of the Ethiopians. All right. The average person reading this would say, okay, see, this Ethiopian, he got baptized, because if you keep reading, that's what happens. He believed, he sought, and he got baptized, but that's not the case. All right, this is an actual Israelite. It says, um, who had charge of all her treasure and had come to Jerusalem to worship. Why? Because he was an Israelite. He kept the customs of the Israelites, although he was in Ethiopia. All right. So just based off of where you're from doesn't make you that actual descent of the people or the nation. Um, let me see. Let me get one more precept. Let me get that Jeremiah like I wanted. Jeremiah chapter 30 and verse 11. Jeremiah chapter 30, and let's start at verse 10. It says, therefore, fear thou not, O my servant Jacob, saith the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Neither be dismayed, O Israel, for lo, I will save thee from afar, and thy seed from the land of their captivity. And Jacob shall return, and shall be in rest, and be quiet, and none shall make him afraid. And that's the comfort we get from the scriptures. If you really are able to understand and believe accurately, no matter where you're scattered, if you're an Israelite, if you are part of the Lord's elect, the Lord is gonna get you. All right, the Lord is gonna save you and deliver you from the hand of your enemy, wherever you are. you know in America, from destruction. And that's the faith that we got. All right, we get the mysteries that the average people can't get, or that they stumble over. Our Israel ain't gonna look like an ancient Israelite. Our Israel ain't gonna be from the land of Israel. We're gonna be scattered. And where do you need to be from to be considered an Israelite, if that's the case? Where do you have to physically be from in order to be an Israelite? If you asking people where you're from, and they say another country, and you say, see, you're not an Israelite. That's a descendant of Ham. That's weak, man. And that's taken away and adding to the scriptures, if that's how they teach. It says, verse 11, for I am with thee, saith the Lord, to save thee, though I make a full end of all nations, whither I have scattered thee, yet will I not make a full end of thee. So you'll have Israelites scattered amongst the nations, but guess what? The Lord is going to deliver them. So it's a separation. But I will correct thee in measure, and will not leave thee altogether unpunished. All right. So this alone proves a preserved remnant, regardless of the location, no matter where you're at. All right. The Lord said he'll make an end of the nations, but not the Israelites, wherever they're amongst or scattered. All right. So, matter of fact, I'll end it with this. Matthew 24. Matthew chapter 24 in verse 30. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory, coming into Yahweh Shah's physical return upon the chariots, also known as clouds, chariots, what this world calls in teach UFOs, unidentified flying object. According to the Bible, those are known as the heavenly vehicles, the chariots of heaven, or the clouds of heaven. All right. But it says with power and great glory, Yahweh Shah is going to return in a way that's going to strike fear, and make all the earth, tremble and mourn. All right. This is the way the Lord is going to come back, with power and glory in a way, that we have never seen or experienced. All right. But with that, verse 31, and he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. So the Lord has an election, that is going to be scattered through the whole earth. And guess what? They're going to be delivered, regardless of where they are. So I just wanted to get that real quick. So I pray this lesson was edifying to the Lord's elect. Again, I want to give our praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Hakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who teach and rule well. And Lord willing, to the next time I say shalom.